sit back and relax and enjoy these custom meditations exclusively for horror fans. The coronavirus will not keep me down. Not since I was a teenager have I been able to watch this many horror movies. The COVID-19 virus is a big stupid jerk face. Thanks to this quarantine I am now able to watch all these Blu-rays that I bought over the past few years that I haven't even unwrapped. I think tonight I will finally unwrap that copy of Power Tool Massacre I got in a gift bag at a Comic-Con after party. Or did I win it at Horror Trivia? Not sure. With all the horror movie monsters and maniacs that have scared us through the years, who could have ever predicted that our biggest real-life horror would be caused by having to brave 3 grocery stores, 1 Walmart and a CVS just to get a few stupid rolls of toilet paper? I am blessed with an incredible family. Although we are not as close as the Sawyer family in Texas Chainsaw, my sister can make a mean bowl of chili. Thanks to the shelter-at-home order, I now stay home and watch horror movies all day and not leave the couch, and most importantly, I no longer feel guilty for consuming so much media because it seems like everyone else is doing it too. Heartfelt thanks all of the streaming platforms. Without you, the world would surely crumble. Some horror monsters would be immune, like vampires and zombies and the Blob. But I wonder if the creepy Asian girls with hair in their faces would be immune or not. Technically they are ghosts, but sometimes they are human. Sort of. I should probably finally subscribe to Shudder. Daniel Isn't Real just arrived, and Extremity is coming soon, plus I still haven't watched the Tigers Aren't Afraid movie. That must be the Tiger King thing everyone is talking about online. I think we should start an online petition to force Darcy and Joe Bob Briggs to host a nightly segment to help us all get through this pandemic. I just watched an old clip on YouTube of a weekend of horror convention in 1992. It's crazy. The celebrities gave away autographs for free, the vendors basically all sold the same items right next to each other. Tony Timpone looks the exact same age as he does now, maybe he is a vampire. I think I saw a few people who now host horror podcasts. Yes, I checked it, at least 63% of those people now have their own horror podcasts. Cool. Jason is still cooler than Michael and Freddy. Now that I have some extra time, maybe I should organize my vast DVD and Blu-ray collection. The new Halloween film, Halloween Killed, Halloween Killer, Halloween Costume, or whatever it's called, and the secret new Saw sequel called Spirals, will still come out this year, just probably not on a big screen in actual movie theaters. Unfortunately it will only be available on our 70-inch 4K TVs with awesome surround sound. I am thankful this virus didn't hit in September or October when the entire horror community is out and about at nightly parties and local haunted attractions and seeing the latest big horror film in big groups in the theater, because it would have wiped out our whole scene in a matter of days. Thankfully Phyllis Rose will still be able to pose for picture with her Angela face at conventions, since she can do it without being within 6 feet of any other human. With all this extra time, Cavity Colors, Fright Rags and Rotten Cotton and Terror Threads should all team up and have a contest of who can make the most different designs for Chopping Mall t-shirts. Just what we need, more Chopping Mall stuff. Now that we are all consuming more media, Severine Films, Vinegar Syndrome, Roman Flicks and the other companies that put out those weird horror movies that only 7 people have seen, will have to start getting better taste, or better yet they should band together and make a new channel on Roku that includes all the extra features. I myself wouldn't mind spending $5 a month to see some obscure stuff, but I just don't have the money to spend $30 every week on a beautifully restored, fully featured disc of a horror movie that even Fangoria didn't cover when it came out in the 80s. When the AMC and Regal movie theater chains inevitably file for bankruptcy because they weren't deemed necessary for the government corporate bailout, a bunch of movie theaters will sit empty for a few months, just waiting for us to break into them and host social distancing screenings of Bava's 1985 masterpiece Demons. Only this time we can get a few of our friends to show up to our theater unexpectedly dressed up as demons, to run around and fling Purell at each other. Purell just seemed a bit safer than fake blood, and it will clean itself up as it flies all over the place. Win-win. Note to self, stock up on Purell. I hear that the Target on my neighborhood still has some. Started to organize my DVD collection, got through the letter C and gave up. I think I will see what everyone is up to on Twitter. Do I need to wipe all the movies down with Clorox wipes? They haven't been touched by human hands in years, so it's probably okay to not clean them. Maybe this coronavirus pandemic will finally slow down the endless amount of zombie movies every year. I know that we in the horror community stopped watching them a long time ago, but somehow we seem to get a shit ton of new zombie films every month. Oh no. Every remote cabin in the word script that is already written is gonna get greenlit. I could have gone the rest of my life without seeing a random group of beautiful young adults shack up in a faraway cabin only to realize that they are being hunted, or haunted, or stalked, or slashed, or recovering from drugs only to find out that the cabin itself is a portal to hell and they didn't know it. Maybe I can finally get my wife to watch all these awesome horror films that I buy. Nope, she is still watching Survivor and Project Runway. Whatever happened to those rumors about an Expendables of horror with Bill Moseley, and Doug Bradley and Kane Hodder and Tony Todd and Tobin Bell and Jeffrey Combs and Robert Englund facing off against vampires to save the local church by raising money from running a male strip club for one night only? Last I heard it was gonna be a musical. If it happens, I hope that Darren Lynn Bousman gets to direct it. During this self-quarantine I have way more time to update my letterboxd.com entries. Oh no, this is the worst, my region-free DVD player just died. Maybe I can take an electronics course online and figure out how to fix it. I wonder if Jordan Peele will still make awesome horror movies after this virus or if he will return to comedy. As much as I liked Get Out and Us, that dubstep skit on Key and Peele was awesome too. Now that Elizabeth Moss is technically a scream queen, does that mean I have to watch The Handmaid's Tale to be a true fan? Watch Velocipastor on Amazon Prime and Tammy and the T-Rex on Shudder, the perfect double feature. My body is healthy, my mind is brilliant. So I can easily outsmart and outrun slow or fast zombies when I'm trying to find toilet paper. Just started a TikTok where I reviewed The Hunt and The Invisible Man while wearing my vintage malpractice rubber mask that I bought in the 80s. Whoa. Holy shit, almost 35 people watched it. If I do this every day, maybe I can become a horror influencer. I just feel like the world needs more 40-year-old white dudes online telling people about what they should be watching, and as a bonus I can show off my special FX artist knowledge by name-dropping weird Rick Baker and Rob Bottin facts I learned by reading every issue of Fangoria. I wonder what happened to Rob Bottin. I heard that he is a hermit that lives in the woods in Malibu inside a rebuilt elementary school bus, and that he owns the nearby strip club. I wonder if that's true. I met him once, he was really nice, and when I asked him about working on The Thing, he told me all these great stories about Kurt Russell and John Carpenter. Those guys are awesome and they should make a new film together with each other. Maybe something using CGI where they make Kurt Russell young and he has to fight with old Kurt Russell to save civilization. Oh. Tom Atkins should play his dad. Obviously. In other good news, Fangoria is making movies now, and not like those crappy ones they made in the 90s. These ones have been pretty cool. Satanic Panic and VFW were both kick-ass, so that means we have a solid 5 years of making good movies before they realize that they can make more money making sci-fi films. BloodyDisgusting.com and DreadCentral.com will probably both start making movies again soon too, which means we might someday finally get more low-budget anthologies. Just what we need, more low-budget anthologies. I still go to BloodyDisgusting.com almost every day, because I still need to know everything about everything happening in horror, and it's way better than reading more about what the government is not doing about all of us being stuck at home. I never did finish Ash vs. the Evil Dead. I guess I can finally get around to that, and American Horror Story Season 12 or whatever it's on now, but first I will watch Jimmy Kimmel on YouTube. Hot damn. I can finally catch up on the Boo Crew and the movie Crypt and Shockwaves and maybe even Postmortem now that I have so much free time to listen to podcasts. To help pass the time during the quarantine, I even listen to the podcasts at normal speed now. Now that the world is ending, maybe Shudder will pick up the Holliston TV show. If we survive this virus, we will for sure get new episodes, or a comic based on it. Oh wait, I have an even better idea. Shudder should greenlight a Hatchet TV series where Victor Kelly runs a successful plumbing company that moonlights as paranormal investigators. It would be a surefire hit. And maybe Shudder will finally put out my movie Sleigh Bells. Shudder needs to show Sleigh Bells this Christmas. Screw that, maybe Netflix will pick it up, since they will be starving for Christmas content by the time the holidays roll around. Note, my Christmas horror comedy Sleigh Bells is now available for streaming free on Amazon Prime. Speaking of the holidays, just a quick heads up, since we will all be broke trying to pay back these new taxes from this corporate bailout bill, we will have to cancel a few of the 12 streaming services we are all using today somewhere around November. But don't let your finances get in the way, prepare now because we have to keep our subscriptions to Shudder active through October just in case they make a better season of Creepshow or release another dozen foreign horror films that no one has heard of, even though I still go to Bloody Disgusting every day. I wonder in the future, if the conventions are gone, if they will be replaced with virtual conventions, and if they do go virtual, I wonder how long the line to meet Clive Barker through Zoom will be? Maybe they will start selling digital autographs. What about the panels? Will we just see the stage or can we still see the crowds though a bunch of Zoom or Slack windows, virtually stalking that hot girl with the green hair and the creature tattoo will be much more difficult. Strange prediction, since no one can be near other humans for the coming months, every movie is gonna be people talking on Zoom and Skype, so prepare yourselves for the Unfriended Chronicles where for 6 full-length movies, people screen share their laptops and tell scary creepypasta stories to each other and in the background someone's mom dressed as a ghost will run up behind them. If Rob Zombie is stuck at home, then we will probably only get new music, and not new movies from him. Maybe John 5 can hop on Zoom and remotely teach Sherry Moon how to play guitar and then we can get awesome new music from him regularly. Don't get me wrong, I love everything Rob Zombie does, well almost everything. I love The Devil's Rejects. And I even like that weird Super Beasto cartoon he made, but I still haven't decided how I feel about Halloween 2. But I will always love that Foxy Boxing song. I learned some interesting facts listening to all these horror podcasts, like for instance over on Postmortem the host Mick Garris worked on the OG Star Wars film, and he is BFFs with 2 guys named Steve Spielberg and King. On the movie Crypt, host Adam Green doesn't know as much about camera lenses as Joe Lynch, and he thinks that Dangerous Toys was actually a good band. So weird. On the podcast Shockwaves, Elric loves horror movies that no one has heard of. As a matter of fact I think that he just makes up a new obscure movie title on every episode just to see if we are paying attention. Rob G. has a lot of DVDs and vinyl in preparation for when this whole corona thing is over. He will probably open a video store in Burbank, California. This is just my opinion, but I think that the host Ryan Turek secretly created the Slashback video art installation as a way to store his huge horror art, toy and poster collection. He might be a hoarder. But don't tell the Mystic Museum people, they still think it's just random horror stuff that people will pay money to see. Host Rebecca likes nuns and aquatic horror, so my guess is that she is currently writing a Nuns vs. Mermaids epic horror film, but probably not because she is busy being an online professor at like 15 different colleges. The Boo Crew likes to collect stuff too, specifically they collect screen-used props from kick-ass films, but don't tell the people at the Mystic Museum, because they might want to showcase that stuff instead of Ryan Turek's crappy old Freddy toys. I just now realized that with the coming economic fall that we are inevitably going to get hit with, all the horror vendors from the conventions will start selling their stuff super cheap to make some cash. So I for one will be saving up until then, because you can never have enough Evil Dead t-shirts. Speaking of making money, I lost my job due to Hollywood shutting down. Does anyone want to buy a vintage 16-inch Movie Maniac Leatherface? It's still in the box and I think the chainsaw still makes noise. Oh, and I have a Hellraiser Rubik's Cube that I can let go for $30 or in trade for a case of Red Bull. Now that Dead Right Horror Trivia is cancelled, I bet it's only a matter of time before they figure out a way to do it online. That will rule. I can show off my horror trivia skills to the world, but damn it, how will we get our prizes? Finally, I could actually win a Mondo poster of an obscure horror film that I only kind of liked. I wonder if Eli Roth is mad that Death Wish will be his final film? With all the changes in the movie industry, maybe Blumhouse and A24 will join forces and become the Disney/Marvel of horror. That would be cool. We could get the crossover films we have all been begging for, the cinematic universe of where Emma and Michael Myers take on the cult from Midsummer. But this is all well and good, and hopefully you laughed or at least chucked a few times, but let's get real for a minute. Horror fans already know how this will end. We have seen so many zombie movies that the actual future is basically as predictable as a Hallmark Christmas film. First the virus breaks out and kills a few people, then a bunch of people, then a whole bunch of people. Then for some reason we are forced to leave our homes and make new friends at the mall. After the token black guy and token hot teen girl get killed, we will figure out a way to duct tape the leftover Baby Yoda t-shirts from Hot Topic and refrigerators from Nordstrom's and make a kick-ass car or tank that can plow through the hordes of zombies. But, in this case it will be the survivors or the coronavirus who have mutated into stark raving mad Republican Trump followers, and they can easily outsmart us with their new laws and rules. But just when we think we have made it to the promised land that we heard about one time on a shortwave radio. Quick side note, what exactly is a shortwave radio? Maybe it's like Twitter in the future. Anyways, just when we think we made it to the promised land, the older dude who we met at the mall somehow got the coronavirus when we weren't looking, and even though he was a grump this whole time, he will turn out to be a good dude when he runs into a pack of corporate executives wearing red hats holding onto their briefcases full of cash that they hoarded just before everything went crazy, and he will sacrifice himself by blocking them from finding us. Now, it's only you and the 9-year-old girl and the super sexy mom from Beverly Hills. You will become a happy family, stealing the leftovers from people's abandoned houses. Then later, a subtitle will let us know that 3 months have passed, and a bit of lengthy exposition will tell us that the promised land is probably at a cool amusement park or Mount Rushmore, and we are only a day or 3 away from it on foot. So we gather our weapons, the ones we stole from those jerky military guys. And we will head over easily, until just before we get there we find that there is a pack of even crazier corporate executives who somehow magically got really big and fast. So we do what anyone would do and sacrifice the 9-year-old to them to save ourselves. Narrowly escaping them, we find the promised land, and it's exactly what we hoped it would be. A bunch of ethnically diverse people who look like they haven't bathed in months, but even though they all had sad faces they are really super nice. They feed us and take us in, safe and sound. At least that's what we think. After making sweet love to the foxy mom from Beverly Hills, we find out that the leader of the promised land has sold us all out to the corporate executives so he can get away. Of course he gets killed by the executives in a glorious fashion, and just when you think you are safe, dun you get the virus. At first you hide it, but then just before you make the ultimate sacrifice by killing yourself, you find out that the sexy babe mom is knocked up. But wait. A cure has been found, and we just have to survive long enough to get across the country in a new even bigger tanker car that would make Mad Max jealous. The end. Of course, a year or 2 later we will resume this fight with a less interesting follow-up that basically is the same, only this time the corporate executives will have designed and created kick-ass suits like Iron Man and now they can fly or some shit like that. But since we now have the cure, we have amassed a small army of filthy people who need baths that can help us get to Washington or New York Financial District to take these bastards out and start a new life, with baths and gourmet food like steak and lobster. Lobster. Yum. And since it is a few years later we have a new kid to watch over, but because she was born with the virus we will need the new stronger antidote to save her before she turns 6 when she will explode. The unlikely hero will be the weird steampunker professor who discovered the cure by locking himself up in a science lab for the past few years, and thankfully we met him a few days after he discovered the cure. Now we can all live happily ever after with a much smaller society, that we will rebuild now that we have finally gotten to take a bath. That's the real end of the story. Until we meet a telepathic girl who can defeat the even stronger corporate executives. So since we all know what is gonna happen, it's up to us horror fans to stop the evil corporate executives by getting on Twitter and letting everyone know what our favorite horror films are and argue with each other about the merits of classic 80s horror versus 70s horror. Then we will finally get the attention of the politicians. They will not be able to help themselves but to argue that The Godfather is better than The Exorcist. And that's when we can explain to them what will really happen in the future. Let's get back to enjoying this wonderful time quarantined with a loved one or a roommate who smokes too much weed and just enjoy ourselves. We can reminisce about last year's amazing Monsterpalooza and Texas Frightmare conventions and even lie to ourselves about them coming back in the fall. And since there won't be any new movies for the next few decades, we as a society of horror fans can rewrite history via Twitter and Facebook and start letting people know that Joe Bob Briggs was once our savior and Michael Myers was once more than a popular costume on Halloween night. During shelter-at-home orders, using what we have all learned from watching hundreds or maybe thousands of horror films, we need to start crafting weapons out of household items. Start a stockpile right now, so when things get all crazy we will be prepared to take on the looters and Republican corporate executives when they try to invade our homes to steal our last can of tuna fish. Weapon number 1, a sleeping bag with a working zipper. Number 2, find that prop machete and sharpen up the plastic edges to make it dangerous. Number 3, rig the life-size skeletons and monster toys up to look like they are alive, thus making our homes look haunted. Looters hate haunted houses. Number 4, start tunneling through the walls so we can live inside them. Number 5, knock the glass off of the blender and make sure those blades are sharpened. Number 6, finish that awesome RoboCop cosplay that I started last year but never finished. Number 7, add an extra phone line and hide it really good, so when the main one is cut, the internet will still work and we can Facebook Live when the intruders try and get in, and so we can still Twitter about canceling people for liking movies we thought sucked. Number 8, rig a paint can on a string. It worked in Home Alone, so I don't see why it wouldn't work for horror fans too. Number 9, hide a butcher knife in each and every room. I know I only have a few steak knives and only one butcher knife, so that will have to do. Number 10, start hot gluing scary looking action figures from our horror toy collections onto my car so my 2008 Jeep will look like a mini tank. Number 11, rig my car battery to my TV and DVD player, for when the electricity gets shut off. Note, disregard number 10. TV and horror movies seem way more necessary than a working vehicle, and I don't want to take these awesome horror toys out of their boxes anyways. Number 12, make sure that the water is running so I don't end up looking like the weird future people who need a bath. By being smart and prepared horror fans, by following these rules, and most importantly bathing at least once a week, we will get through this coronavirus. Amen.